The Association of Southeast Asian Nations was established in 1967 by the governments of Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand for the co-prosperity of Southeast Asia. Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia joined in the following years to become a 10-member association. Since establishing dialogue relations in 1989, Korea and ASEAN have been actively cooperating with each other. To celebrate Korea and ASEAN's 30th anniversary of dialogue relations, Korea is hosting the ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit. What do the 11 leaders from Korea and ASEAN want to achieve through the summit? Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. These wise words by Aristotle act as a compass for those who value true friendship. Korea and ASEAN established dialogue relations in 1989, and it has already been 30 years. 30 years can feel both long and short under different circumstances, but what is important is what has been shared and accomplished in that time. Let's find out if the relationship is a true friendship.
ASEAN is basically an association of 10 countries that strive for economic development and peace and stability in the region. And ASEAN has always been reaching out to countries outside the region to forge a mutually beneficial relationship and to forge regional peace and security.
Theoretically, countries do not cooperate without any sense of shared crisis or shared threat. Then exactly that applies to the situation of Southeast Asian countries in the early 60s. For example, the individual countries had domestic problems, a lot of domestic problems, political instability and economic weakness. And on top of that, these 5 countries had the common worries that they could be recolonized by the Western power again.
How Korea can come into its engagement with ASEAN here is that as a middle power, its engagement with ASEAN is free from this greater power politic dynamics, right? Also beneficial is the fact that Korea has no territorial disputes or historical disputes with Southeast Asia. Neither does South Korea have any hegemonic interest to dominate the region, right? So they benefit greatly from this. And I think this is one of the main reasons why middle powers like South Korea is a very attractive partner for ASEAN.
We always think that Korea is actually a good choice because of the promise of common economic development, the promise of making Korea as one of the stakeholders of regional peace, which shares many values with ASEAN.
Korea's obvious success is an important one, right? That it's gone from poorer than Ghana to one of the richest countries in the world in a mere 40 years. So that kind of stunning success itself is going to attract interest.
ASEAN has 10 dialogue partners, and many of them have already had summits with the ASEAN leaders in their own country. So India's had 2, Japan, Australia. The fact that South Korea, as you said, is the 3rd time and was the first, again shows how long-standing this interest of working together is. So South Korea as a dialogue partner, particularly now with the new Southern policy looking to strengthen relations with Southeast Asia, a commemorative summit, particularly if all 10 Southeast Asian leaders come to South Korea, will be a powerful sign of how important the relationship is for South Korea to have invited all 10, and for Southeast Asia, how important South Korea is for having come there.
What was the driving force behind the astonishing development of Korea-ASEAN ties?
I have noticed an increase in the number of exchanges, primarily because of the Korean government's new Southern policy and their push to further engage ASEAN. So the New Southern Policy was an initiative launched by President Moon in 2017, where he announced that Korea really wants to upgrade its relations with ASEAN. And I think since he made this announcement, he has been making a lot of effort to take action to make this a reality. For example, he is the first Korean president to visit all the 10 ASEAN member states, and he did this within about 2 years, which is quite remarkable given all the incredible diplomatic summits that have happened on the Korean Peninsula over the last 18 months or so, which has taken up a lot of his focus. But even that amount of focus on the Korean Peninsula, President Moon has still made an effort to visit all the 10 ASEAN member states, which is something very much recognized and appreciated by the ASEAN leaders.
정말 아세안에는 수많은 아름다운 관광지가 많이 있죠. 문화유적지도 있고 또 그야말로 자연 경관이 아주 정말 환상적인 그런 지역도 많이 있고 그다음에 편히 쉴 수 있는 리조트도 많이 있고 합니다만 그래서 저희들은 워크숍도 열고 아니면 또 한국으로 좀 초청을 해서 다양한 한국의 그런 관광객들의 선호도를 이렇게 설명함으로써 아세안 관광업계가 좀 더 많은 한국인들을 유치할 수 있도록 도와주는 역할도 하고 있고 뭐 이런 노력을 해 나가고 있습니다.
This is the ASEAN Korea Center, which was established in 2009 to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Korea and ASEAN's dialogue relations. Through the center, Korea and ASEAN have carried out various projects for co-prosperity and peace, of which many have come to fruition. One such result is the Korea-ASEAN Special Summit, which will discuss the roadmap for the next 30 years. Let's see if these agendas will become an engine to further advance the relations between the two sides.
I think this is a very significant summit, not just for economic prosperity in the East Asian region. It is very important because East Asia, and particularly Northeast Asia, is lacking strong regional institutions compared to, for example, Europe. So in this sense, the hope is, of course, that this summit will foster the regional cooperation within East Asia.
And also they'll probably look to the future of the relationship between Korea and ASEAN. And most importantly, I think they can develop momentum for the future.
Personally, what I would like to see it happen is that bringing together Korea and the ASEAN nations and other partners increase the mutual dependence within the region. By increasing stability in relations in East Asia, it could reduce tensions globally.
I think it's very important that we, ASEAN and Korea, have to defend multilateral economic cooperation, because when we do have more trade, when we have more investment, the benefit will go to the people on both sides.
One of the main agendas for the commemorative summit is FTA network expansion. What can we expect from discussing this topic?
2007년에 한-아세안 FTA가 발효되고 이제 2019년이 됐는데 그 사이에 한-아세안 교역량이 2배 이상 증가를 했습니다. 그 수출 수입하는 품목도 조금 차이를 보이는데 몇 가지 재밌는 면이 발견되는 것이 2007년 당시에는 사실 우리나라가 아세안으로 예를 들면 이제 우리의 주요 수출 상품인 휴대폰을 수출하는 나라 그 관계였다면 지금은 이제 우리나라가 뭐 베트남 같은 그런 기지에 아예 투자를 해서 휴대폰 공장을 차리면서 이제는 거꾸로 이제 우리가 휴대폰 부품을 수출하고 현지 공장에서 우리가 조립을 한 다음에 거꾸로 휴대폰을 수입하는 나라가 됐다든지 한-아세안 FTA 같은 경우에는 이제 우리나라가 아세안 10개국과 한꺼번에 이렇게 맺은 FTA이기 때문에 10개국 사이의 의견 조율이 필요한 과정이 있었어요. 나라 대 나라로 양자 FTA를 맺을 때는 서로 간에 더 맞춤형으로 FTA를 맺을 수가 있습니다. 그래서 이제 서로 간에 더 터놓고 얘기를 해서 이제 양국에게 더욱더 이제 한-아세안 FTA보다는 전체적으로 조금 더 직접적이고 이제 어떤 효과가 또 즉각적으로 나타나는 그런 FTA 효과를 기대를 할 수가 있는 거죠.
My understanding of the situation is that as the WTO process has been breaking down, that the sort of reduction of tariffs and the progress in reducing tariffs and opening up free trade on an international level has been declining. And so countries have turned increasingly to bilateral FTAs in order to gain the same perceived benefits, right? This is why Korea, America, FTA, Korea, EU, FTA, and probably one of the reasons for Korea, Philippines, etc., in developing these FTAs is that it's one way to actually make progress in reducing tariffs. And then finally, I think in a more positive light, that developing these bilateral FTAs can facilitate and ease the movement toward a regional free trade agreement. By reducing tariffs between individual countries, it initiates the process of loosening up trade barriers that might facilitate a regional trade agreement.
Another main agenda for the commemorative summit is smart city cooperation. By building a smart platform that applies the latest information and communication technology, such as Internet of Things, cyber-physical systems, and big data solutions. Smart cities are future cities that efficiently manage urban infrastructure. It also collects and utilizes public data to efficiently operate urban assets such as transportation and energy, and provides citizens with a safe and healthy life. How will Korea and ASEAN cooperate to develop these futuristic cities?
I think this agenda is chosen because this already shows the power of Korea. We always seek for the potentials of transfer technology when we engage in mutual development, and I think Korean project for example smart cities or even in terms of green technology is kind of promising for ASEAN.
Another area is without a doubt in higher technology, from 5G rollouts to things like artificial intelligence, where South Korean firms are already major players in Southeast Asia.
The summit will be discussing military and defense industry cooperation for the first time. The defense industry is a sensitive area where cooperation requires deep mutual political and diplomatic trust. Does this mean the two cities have built up enough trust to be discussing these issues?
Buying arms like helicopters or howitzers from South Korea doesn't come with the same risks and messages implied or inferred that you get if you buy from China or the US, for example. So I think Southeast Asia is looking for defense and security cooperation with many partners, middle powers in particular, with similar interests.
We want no war. we want China and USA to coexist peacefully. Do not start a new Cold War in Asia Pacific. So it is our common interest between ASEAN and Korea that we try to promote dialogue and cooperation in Asia Pacific, or sometimes we call it the Indo-Pacific. And it is very important that ASEAN and Korea work together to promote this feeling that we don't want confrontation, we want cooperation.
Leaders participating in the summit will also discuss the realization of a peace economy on the Korean Peninsula. What kind of role can ASEAN play for this issue to become a main agenda?
I think when it comes to ASEAN-South Korea relations and vis-a-vis the EU, right, ASEAN's special characteristics here would involve mainly around its capability to engage with North Korea. In fact, if we look back probably about 10 years ago today, 10 years ago, the ARF was the sole platform that was multilateral in nature for the North Korean issue following the breakdown of the six-party talks when North Korea actually tested its missiles. If the sanctions were to be lifted or to be eased, what role ASEAN can play here would be quite interesting, because if we look at the ASEAN-South Korea Free Trade Agreement, it actually includes a provision for goods produced at the Kaesong Industrial Complex, which we know is located in North Korea, to be treated similarly and favorably as the goods produced in South Korea. So in the event that the sanctions are lifted, I can foresee that perhaps the Southeast Asian countries could actually import more goods from the Kaesong Industrial Complex to provide an economic stimulus of sorts towards the North Korean economy if they start denuclearization or the issues on the Korean Peninsula gets better.
If North Korea opens up to the international community, they have to engage with international organizations, regional corporations. The first step would be engaging with what I call ASEAN Plus 3 or East Asia Summit, regional multilateral cooperation. And these multilateral cooperation in this region, the ASEAN's role is quite important. It is the ASEAN that have a decision power to accept a country as a member or not. So for the diplomatic normal state called North Korea, the role of Southeast Asian countries is very important.
Ultimately, the important thing is the momentum must be maintained. ASEAN has provided a tremendous template for peaceful resolution of disputes, track 2 diplomacy, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And I think this is also an area that South Korea, with its peace agenda under the Moon Jae-in administration, could not only benefit from partnering, but also influence the development of an East Asian cooperative region.
Various governments around the world are paying attention to the first Korea-Mekong Summit, to be held following the Korea-ASEAN Special Summit. We'll take a closer look at why the summit is at the center of attention and why it is held alongside the Special Summit, as well as the main agendas that will be discussed. The Mekong River is about 4,900 kilometers long and flows through Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam, with a drainage area equaling about 810,000 square kilometers. The river comes second following the Amazon in biodiversity, which is why many people depend on it for their daily lives. Will issues discussed at the first Mekong-Korea Summit contribute to the prosperity of people living in the Mekong region?
Well, I think many countries have an interest in the Mekong region, including the United States. In fact, the U.S. has its own lower Mekong initiative to promote sustainable growth there. And Japanese and Chinese companies are very interested in investment in this region. And that's, again, something that it seems to me occurs quite naturally as a result of capital looking for investment opportunities.
I think one of ASEAN's greatest interests is, if you look, the maritime Southeast Asian countries of ASEAN, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Brunei, are much wealthier than the Mekong River countries, and there's a desire to try to shrink that development gap. And certainly ASEAN and Southeast Asian countries are looking for dialogue partners to play a role in that shrinking of the development divide between Mekong, Southeast Asia, and maritime Southeast Asia.
Previously, Korea-Mekong meetings just held in at the minister level, but now this year is the first year for Korea to have a summit meeting with 5 Mekong countries. So in this, I think it's quite so meaningful because think about the Korean economic success. Korean economic success can be called sort of a miracle of Han River, but it could be quite so symbolic to have Korea-Mekong summit meetings because 5 Mekong countries are really interested in economic development. They want to share Korea's know-hows of economic development.
메콩 델타가 워낙에 농업 쪽에 좀 특화된 곳이기 때문에 농업에 대한 것들이 많았는데요. 최근에는 이제 ICT라든지 이제 산업협력 그런 것들이 좀 요청 들어오는 게 좀 많습니다. 그래서 아마 그런 부분에 수요 측의 어떤 입장을 고려해서 그런 협력들이 많이 좀 추진될 것으로 예상이 되고 있고요.
11 heads of state and governments have taken time out of their busy schedule to attend the ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit. What kind of future will they be planning?
Of course, today and maybe in the next few years, the global economic situation is in a very challenging time. But then, to me, this is why we need to work together. This is why we need to work harder and to collaborate among countries just to go through these challenges together. And I'm optimistic that we will make it.
Well, I think the international community probably looks very favorably on stronger ties between Korea and ASEAN. Certainly such ties can expand trade, cultural exchange, and strengthen mutual understanding between them.
I definitely think that's a very meaningful summit, and that, yes, potentially it could be an important stepping stone towards building stronger regional and multinational institutions, and particularly between Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia. Could be one of the many steps that are necessary.
The Korea-ASEAN Startup Week was held on the sidelines of the commemorative summit. The event invited 40 young startup leaders from the 10 ASEAN members to provide investor relations pitching opportunities for networking with Korean companies.
And we provide free content, entertainment, games, and other services for passengers that are stuck in traffic.
Will it serve as a blueprint for designing Korea and ASEAN's future?
But the reason Sonic Boom as a whole is here is because we would like to expand our horizon, find new partners. It's an eye-opener, I met new partners, new friends. One of my peers was Beep. Beep was already talking to us that they want to integrate with us. They want to join our platform as well so that they can enable payments on the unattended machines as well.
Initiatives like this gives us access to far bigger and wider range of networks, really top Korean companies, really top venture capitalists. These are the ecosystem that it's very difficult for us to have direct access to. So it's extremely helpful.
Having kind of state support provides a lot of credibility that would be really hard for us to achieve on our own. And so this is a really good program, and we're trying to make the most of it.
You see, we are all neighbors, and our businesses depend on each other. And today, the digital world
the startups, if we can start connecting, I think the future will be better for the countries that come and collaborate.
Love does not consist in gazing at each other, but looking together in the same direction. These are the words of Saint-Exupéry, who wrote The Little Prince. What he means by looking together in the same direction is probably to work towards a better future together. The slogan for the ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit is Partnership for Peace, Prosperity for People. Let's hope that these efforts don't end just as a slogan, but go further to contribute to the prosperity and peace for all global citizens.